Which number is greater than 8.33 and less than 8.54? All right. Anytime I get an answer a question like this, what I would do is I split this into two parts. Two things that I check. Okay? The first part is which number is greater than 8.33. So that is the first thing that I check. And less than 8.54. That is the second thing I check. If you try to check both things at once, it makes it a lot more complicated. It is much simpler to go one by one, check this first, and then check this. So I'm going to start with this one. Greater than 8.33. So they want a number that is bigger. $8.33. This is the number that I'm using to check. It needs to be bigger than this. I'm going to check all of my answer choices. I haven't gotten rid of any yet. I'm going to make sure that the line I draw is kind of long because I need enough space to put 4 numbers on it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to write my answer choices. 8.58, 8.21, 8.3, and 8.49. Now before I start, I notice that here I've got a blank space. So to help this number out, make sure I don't have a blank space, we're going to put a 0. So all of my numbers are nice and lined up. This one is compare and order decimals for C, page 2. No problem. I'm going to start the same way I always do. I'm going to start by covering up the decimals. But remember, this is the number, and I'm going to put a star next to it. This is the number I'm checking with. Okay? I'm trying to find a number that's bigger than this. That's what I want. Okay. So my number is 8 up here. Do I see any numbers bigger than 8? No. Do I see any numbers smaller than 8? No, they're all the same right now. I can't tell a difference. So let's uncover my decimals. Okay. My number is 33. Do I see any numbers that are bigger than 33? Who can tell me? Do I see any numbers bigger than 33? Alexa?
Yes.
Okay. What numbers are bigger than 33?
48 and 49.
Not 48, but what is it?
58, sorry.
It's okay. You're right, though. 58 and 49 are bigger than 33. Are there any other numbers bigger than 33, Alexa? And if it helps you, you can always cover up the whole numbers. That way you can just look behind the decimal. So you're right. Nothing else is bigger. 21 is smaller. 30 is smaller. So that means that answer choice A passed the first test. Answer choice D passed the first test. But answer choice B C failed the first test. So they can't be my answers anymore. I still have 2 answer choices left. So I can't just guess and pick one. I've got to check the second thing. Less than 8.54. So they want a number that is smaller than 8.54. Again, I'm going to check it separately. So I'm going to make a whole new table over here. 8.54. This is the number that I'm using to check. So I'm going to put a star next to it. This time, I don't have to make my line quite as long because I don't have to check all 4 of my answer choices anymore. I only have to check 2 of them. So this could be a much shorter line. Make sure my decimals stay lined up. That is the most important thing when you're comparing decimals. If your decimals are lined up, again, that's like half of your problems gone. 8.58. I don't have to write 8.21 because we crossed it out. I don't have to write 8.3 because we crossed that out too. 8.49. Okay, this time I'm looking for smaller numbers. I'm going to start the same way I always do, covering up the decimals. For here is 8. Do I see a number that is smaller than 8? Do I see a number that is bigger than 8? All I see are 8s right now. So let's uncover the decimals. And like I said, if you want, you can even cover up your whole numbers just to make it a little bit simpler for you. So I'm looking at the top number, 54. Do I see a number that is smaller than 54? Noah, which number do I see that's smaller than 54? $49. 49 is smaller than 54. What about 58, Noah? Is 58 smaller than 54? No. So answer choice A, even though it passed my first test, it did not pass my second test. But the answer choice that passed both of my tests, the first and the second one, is answer choice D. So anytime you see a question asking you which number is greater than this and less than this, just do 2 different tests. Don't try to test both things at the same time. It's just going to make it more complicated. If you do 2 separate tests, it makes it a lot simpler for you. And again, it'll make it so that there's less of a chance for you to make any kind of mistakes. The fewer opportunities you have to make a mistake, the better. Number 8, point T on the number line represents the length of Marquise's pet rabbit in centimeters. We measured it, and that's how long it is, right here, point T. What measurement does point T represent on the number line? Okay. Problems like this can look tricky, but honestly, they're really not. The biggest problem with something like this is you notice how they put some of my numbers on my number line, but there's this big gap in the middle. That's on purpose. They just didn't put all the numbers in for you. Look at the way they counted. 28, 29, 32. So when you're counting, do you count like that? 28, 29, and 32. Now there's stuff missing in the middle. The biggest reason why people miss problems like these is because of those missing numbers. The good news is it's pretty simple to go back and put them in. Notice how next to all of my numbers, I have a dark line. You see how it's a little bit darker than the other lines? So every time I see a dark line, like here, here, that's telling me that a number should be there. So I can see two dark lines that don't have numbers next to them. All I'm going to do is go ahead and continue counting. So this dark line was 28. The next dark line is 29. That means that the next dark line should be 30. If I was counting, I'd say 28, 29, 30. Now what about the dark line after 30? What should this dark line be? What number should be here? We have 28, 29, 30, and then what? Violet?
40?
So if you're counting, Violet, would you say 28, 29, 30, 40? What would you say? 28, 29, 30, 31. And then look, it fits perfectly. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Now, I do like what you thought, Violet. You noticed all these little lines in between, right? The little lines in between are not whole numbers. Those little lines in between, those are my decimals. So that's why the dark lines are there. The dark lines are there to show us where the whole numbers are. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Those skinnier lines, those little lines, those are there for the decimals, the little pieces as they get closer and closer to the next whole number. Normally when they show us something like this, they use the models, right? The big squares, and they'll shade them in and shade in parts of it. But I think you can understand when they get to numbers like 30 and 31, it would take them an awful lot of space to put 31 squares and shade them all in. It might even take up your whole page. So with bigger numbers, they like to use these number lines here. So remember that. On a number line, look for those dark lines. The dark lines tell you where your whole numbers are. The skinny lines in between, those are where you'll find either decimals or fractions, depending on what you're working with. Since we're working with decimals this week, then what we have there is decimals. Sorry, I just need to grab my ear. Okay. So look at where point T is. It's past 28, it's past 29, past 30, it's past 31, but it didn't get all the way to 32 yet. So I know that whatever number has to be past 31, has to be more than 31, but it can't be at 32 yet. F says 30.12. Is 30.12 more than 31? Jadine?
No, it's not.
No. Look at that front. If I look in front of the decimal, it's 30. We did go past 30, but we also went past 31. G, 30.8. Is 30.8 more than 31? What do you say, Jaylene? Is 30.8 more than 31?
What's the question?
Is 30.8 more than 31?
Um,
So if I have 31 and I have 30.0.0, so 30 is the bigger number? No. I need a number that's bigger than 31. This has 30. That can't be it. Oh, sorry, it was 30.8. So when I check it here, 30 is smaller. 31.5, 31.2. Both of these numbers are bigger than 31. Both of them are smaller than 32. The only thing that's different is the numbers after the decimals. Now, Violet, this is where those little lines come in handy. Here's 31, this dark line here. Let's start counting those little lines. 1, 2. So that's where point T is. 1, 2. So past 31 with two little lines. If I look at my answer choices, we have 31.5 and 31.2. Which one of those do you think makes more sense, Violet? J, 31.2. Absolutely correct. Because when I go and count those lines, it only goes 2 lines past 31. It doesn't go 5 lines past 31. So J, my answer. Oh, look at this. Write a decimal number greater than the decimal represented by point T in this number line. So we said that point T was 31.2. So what I need to do is I need to come up with a decimal number that is bigger than 31.2. Now the good news is I can think of any decimal number and it would be right so long as it's bigger than 31.2. So, who thinks they can give me a decimal number that would be bigger? Chase? What would be a decimal number that would be bigger than 31.2? $32.4. Okay, let's check. 32.4. I'm going to see. I'm going to start off the same way I always do. I'm going to cover up the numbers after my decimal. 31 and 32. Which number is bigger, 31 or 32? Which one is the bigger number? Kylie? 32. So Chase is right. This number is bigger. I don't even have to look at the decimals. Just looking at the whole numbers, I was able to see that. So you're absolutely right, Chase. 32.4 is the bigger decimal number. And like I said, you could really make up any number so long as it's bigger than 31.2. But yours works perfectly.